Something just changed in Washington, and if you're collecting Social Security or waiting on any kind of federal payment, you need to stop what you're doing and hear this right now. The government just confirmed new details around the March 6th update, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it means for your wallet. No spin, no political noise, just the real numbers and the real facts. Here's what frustrates me. Millions of hardworking Americans, people who paid into this system for 30, 40 years, are sitting at their kitchen tables right now, confused, scared, and being fed half-truths by headlines designed to get clicks instead of actually help them. So, let's cut through all of that. The Social Security Administration has made specific adjustments that directly affect your monthly benefit amount, your payment schedule, and in some cases, your eligibility status. These are not rumors. These are confirmed changes, and the date matters more than most people realize. I want you to understand every single detail before March 6th arrives because being uninformed right now could genuinely cost you money you've already earned. Let me start with something that I think a lot of people in Washington don't want you to fully understand. The Social Security system in this country was never designed to be complicated. It was designed to be a promise, a straightforward, honest promise that said, you work, you contribute, you sacrifice, and when the time comes, this country will take care of you. That was the deal. And for decades, most Americans held up their end of that deal without question. They showed up to work every single morning, they paid their taxes, they raised their families, they didn't ask for handouts, they asked for what they were owed, and right now, in March of 2025, that promise is being renegotiated and most people don't even know it's happening. Now, I want to talk about the March 6th update specifically because there's a lot of confusion swirling around this date, and confusion in personal finance always costs people money. Always. The Social Security Administration has been quietly rolling out a series of administrative and policy-level changes that affect how payments are processed, how amounts are calculated, and in certain cases, how quickly those payments actually land in your bank account. March 6th is a significant checkpoint in that rollout, and if you've been waiting on clarity, today is your day. Here's what you need to understand about where we are right now. The cost of living adjustment, which most people call the COLA, was set at 2.5% for 2025. Now, I know some of you heard that number and felt relieved. A raise is a raise, right? But let me put that in real terms for you because the raw percentage doesn't tell the whole story. If you were receiving $1,800 a month in Social Security benefits before this adjustment, a 2.5% increase gives you an additional $45 a month. That's $540 for the entire year. And before you get too excited about that, I want you to think about what your grocery bill looked like 2 years ago versus what it looks like today. Think about what your utility bills cost last winter. Think about what your prescription medications are running you every single month. $45 does not go as far as the government would like you to believe, and I think you know that better than anyone. But here's where March 6th becomes critically important. There have been ongoing discussions at the federal level, and some of these conversations have been confirmed through official channels about supplemental payment distributions that could impact certain Social Security recipients, particularly those in lower income brackets, those who receive supplemental security income, and those who have been affected by specific administrative backlogs that built up over the last 2 years. The payment update tied to March 6th is connected to the resolution of some of those backlogs, and what that means practically is that some Americans who have been waiting on corrected benefit amounts or adjusted payment distributions may finally see movement in their accounts around that date. Now, I am not here to promise you a check that may or may not arrive. I've been doing this long enough to know that the moment you start counting money that isn't in your hand yet, you make bad decisions. What I am here to do is make sure you understand the landscape clearly so that you are not caught off guard and so that you are not taken advantage of. Because let me tell you, there are people out there right now who are absolutely preying on seniors around this exact topic. I've seen the scam calls, I've seen the fake government websites, I've seen the fraudulent letters showing up in mailboxes telling people they need to verify their information to receive their March payment. Do not fall for any of that. The Social Security Administration will never call you and ask for your Social Security number over the phone. They will never send you an email asking you to click a link to confirm your identity. If that happens to you or someone you love, hang up the phone immediately and call the official SSA number. which is 1-800-772-1213. I want that burned into your memory. Let me get back to the substance here because there's more you need to understand. One of the most significant changes that has been confirmed as part of this broader update cycle is the adjustment to the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. Now, if those phrases don't mean anything to you, let me explain why they should. The windfall elimination provision, which people call the WP, has for years reduced Social Security benefits for workers who also received a pension from a job that didn't pay into Social Security. Teachers, firefighters, certain government employees. Millions of Americans have been receiving reduced benefits because of this provision for decades. The government pension offset or go similarly reduced spousal and survivor benefits for people in that same category. Congress has been fighting over the repeal of these two provisions for years, and in late 2024, the Social Security Fairness Act was signed into law. That is not a rumor. That is a confirmed enacted piece of legislation, and it has real consequences for real people. What that means for you, and this is the part that nobody is explaining clearly, is that if you were subject to either the WEP or the GO, your benefit amount is going to increase. The Social Security Administration has been processing these recalculations, and the March update is directly tied to when many of those corrected payments are expected to begin reaching recipients. Some people are looking at increases of several hundred per month. And beyond the monthly increase, there is also the question of retroactive payments. Back payments covering the period since the law was enacted. And those retroactive amounts for some households could be quite significant. The SSA has confirmed that they are processing these as quickly as their systems allow, but the volume is massive, so the timeline varies person to person. If you worked in a job covered by a pension and also worked jobs that paid into Social Security, you need to be paying very close attention right now. If your spouse worked in one of those categories, you need to be paying attention. Call the SSA, log into your My Social Security account online. Make sure your records are accurate because if there's an error in your employment history, and errors happen more than people realize, you could be leaving money on the table that is rightfully yours. I want you to fight for every single dollar you are owed, not because I'm trying to get you fired up, but because you earned it. And nobody is going to hand it to you unless you ask for it. Now, let's talk about something that I think is deeply underreported in all of this conversation, and that is the mental and emotional weight that financial uncertainty places on seniors in this country. I travel this country, I talk to people. I hear from families who are watching their parents or grandparents make decisions out of fear rather than out of information. People are skipping medications because they're not sure if their benefit amount is going to hold. People are not turning on their heat because they're scared about what the next bill is going to look like. People are making financial decisions based on anxiety rather than facts. And that breaks my heart because anxiety is what happens when you don't have a clear picture. And my job, what I've dedicated my life to, is making that picture clear. So, here is the clearest thing I can say to you today. Your Social Security benefit is not going away. The program is facing long-term funding pressures. Yes. And anyone who tells you otherwise is not being straight with you. The Social Security trust funds, if nothing changes legislatively, are projected to face a shortfall around 2033, which would result in a reduction in benefits. Not an elimination, but a reduction. That is a real issue, and it deserves serious attention from Congress. But between now and then, there are years of political, legislative, and policy options available. And historically, Congress has never allowed Social Security benefits to be cut without intervention. That doesn't mean you should be complacent. That means you should be informed and engaged. What you can do right now, and I mean this week, is review your Social Security statement. If you don't have a My Social Security account set up at ssa.gov, set one up today. It takes about 15 minutes, and it will show you your complete earnings history, your projected benefit amounts, and any recent changes to your account. If you see something that doesn't look right, report it. If your earnings history is missing years where you know you were working and paying into the system, report it. These are not small errors. These directly affect how much money you receive every month for the rest of your life. And while we're talking about what you can do right now, let me say something about the broader financial picture that I think gets lost in all of this Social Security conversation. Social Security was never meant to be your only source of income in retirement. I know for millions of Americans, it has become exactly that. And I am not saying that to shame anyone because the economic pressures of the last 30 years have made saving genuinely difficult for a lot of working class families. But if you are still in a position where you have any capacity to build even a small financial cushion, an emergency fund, even just $1,000 or $2,000 set aside, that changes the psychological and practical equation dramatically. It means that when there's a payment delay, when there's an administrative correction that takes 3 months to process, you are not in crisis mode. You have a buffer. And that buffer is the difference between making good decisions and making scared decisions. I also want to address something that's been circulating heavily on social media and in certain online communities, which is the idea that there is a large universal stimulus check coming for all seniors in March. I want to be very precise here because precision matters more than comfort. There is no universally confirmed across-the-board stimulus check for all Social Security recipients tied specifically to March 6th as of the time of this recording. What there are, and what are very real and very significant, are the benefit increases from the COLA adjustment, the retroactive payments connected to the WFP and GO repeal under the Social Security Fairness Act, and the processing updates tied to administrative corrections that have been in the pipeline. For many people, those amounts will feel like a significant payment arriving in their account. But I want you to understand what it actually is so that you can make smart decisions about it rather than treating it like a windfall and spending it before you've thought it through. If money arrives in your account that you weren't expecting or that represents a back payment, the first thing you do before you spend a single dollar of it is find out exactly what it's for. Call the SSA, check your account portal, make sure you understand the source and the tax implications, because yes, Social Security benefits can be taxable depending on your total income, and a lump sum retroactive payment could affect your tax situation for the year. I want you to be prepared for that conversation with your tax preparer so you are not surprised in April. The bottom line is this: March 6th represents a real moment of movement in an ongoing process that affects millions of American seniors, and you deserve to understand it completely. The system is complicated, the politics are messy, and the noise is overwhelming. But underneath all of that noise, the facts are knowable. The numbers are real, and your benefits are something worth fighting to understand and protect. Stay informed, stay engaged, and don't let anyone, not a scammer, not a politician, not a confusing government letter, make you feel powerless about your own financial future. Because you are not powerless. You are informed.